A dog is known as man's best friend. But not only can best friend be a friend, he can save your life. Medical research on animals has enabled many of the most important advances in modern medicine. Blood transfusions, organ transplants, and joint replacements would not have been possible if it wasn't for animal testing. There is some controversy on this subject that testing on animals is morally wrong because animals cannot voice their opinion. However, there are some animals that are bred just for the purpose of testing. Without animals, many medical advances would not have been discovered. My main claim is that medical research on animals for research is beneficial because many discoveries have been made that has helped the medical field as a whole. I would like to support this by stating that many innovations and treatments have been discovered because of testing on animals. There are also severe consequences if a product has not been tested on an animal. And lastly, testing can also save the lives of many humans. My first supporting claim, that many innovations and treatments have been discovered, has allowed scientists to develop ways to overcome obstacles without directly experimenting on human patients. V. Everett Koop, a former U.S. Surgeon General, states that virtually every major medical advance for both humans and animals has been achieved through biomedical research using animals to study and find a cure for a disease, and through animal testing to prove the safety and efficiency of new treatments. What he means by this is that many major treatments have been discovered, and they are used to prove how safe and efficient new treatments can be. In 1960, Albert Starr created the heart valve replacement surgery in humans after several tests in dogs. Over 300,000 people receive heart transplants derived from Starr's designs annually. He states that before the prosthetic, people with vascular disease would die. My secondary claim is that there are severe consequences if a product is not tested on an animal first. It can be very dangerous if it's not tested first because there has not been any sort of testing done. VTech, a certain company, took advantage of a loophole in the FDA regulations and created a synthetic jaw that was made of silicone and Teflon and marketed without adequate testing. Patients found chipping and breaking in their jaws, which triggered a chemical reaction that eroded away at their jawbone. 1 year later, after it had been introduced, VTech tested the synthetic jaw on dogs and immediately found a result of damage and erosion. If VTech had the proper testing, then they could have prevented many painful and permanent injuries. Lastly, testing animals can save the lives of many humans. 1 in 8 women in the United States will develop invasive breast cancer in her lifetime. Herceptin, which is used in the treatment for breast cancer, has been developed in mice, and it also comes from mice. And because of it, there are now 2.5 million breast cancer survivors in the United States. Also, polio. There was a big epidemic in 1950, and Jonas Salk created a vaccine, which he tested on dogs first. And now, because of it has been, for the National Center for Health Statistics, says that there's more than 440,000 survivors. But also, the Post-Polio Health International puts the number at 775,000 or more survivors. These numbers would not have been high if it wasn't for animal testing. I would like to conclude this by saying that it has benefited as much as this has benefited so many ways of medical field as a whole because of the innovations that we have discovered. And there's severe consequences if it has not been tested first, and it can always save lives. Hopefully always save lives. If we didn't have animals to test on, many patients would be victims to death and diseases. It is a risk that we take to test on animals, but it is a risk that we must take in order to save lives.
All right. Well, I like the intro. I thought that was fine. Proposition is clearly indicated. You highlight it. It does have a dependent clause in it. Save that for the body of the speech. Keep the proposition separate. There's a very good setup of what the secondary claims are going to be, so that should make it pretty easy to follow. There are a lot of categories of research, and so I think you might want to clarify that a little bit more. Signposting on the body of the speech was always clear and easy to follow, so the structure we're never getting lost on. Background information is okay. One of the things that you might point out, because I know you're trying to avoid the morality issues, and that's part of the argument typically against animal research, is that animal testing, of course, is only part of the process, that all testing is done ultimately, if it's a product that's going to be sold to humans, is also done on humans, and we're preventing these mistakes before we reach that particular level. I thought that you had lots of examples that you used. A couple of the examples needed some sources. I didn't really hear any citation of authority or experts on those sources. I did like your citation of the former Surgeon General on the general information on that first point, but after that it just seemed like the information came out and it wasn't being attributed to anybody in particular. The example of the jawbone, I think, is a very good illustration about why it's important that we have this pre-testing, but again, I have no record of where that information came from, if it's an apocryphal story, if it's an actual incident, and you don't have the citation in the speech. I thought the summary was pretty clear. You look a little downcast while you're speaking, and at the end maybe a little bit less composed than you might be. And then I thought each of the points had some good examples, but you're very dependent on the examples, and they could use a little bit more development. Like I said, I think the examples are pretty good, but there's probably some statistical information and some authoritative information that would make those arguments even more convincing. Thank you.